This video will definitely piss some people off. I'm going to rank every Deep Purple lineup from worst to greatest. I'm going to be honest. And to be honest, I'm going to be a little rude. In my last video, I reimagined Deep Purple's Fireball album, and boy did people respond. I loved reading the comments. People were really engaged. Whether you agreed with me or thought I'd lost the plot, it doesn't matter. For me, the whole point of this channel is to build a community of fans, a place where we can flap our gums about one of the greatest rock bands of all time. We might disagree about a lot of things, but we've got one thing in common. We all love Deep Purple. Every lineup, every player, they've all been incredible at what they do. It just so happens that sometimes I don't like what it is they do. So with that in mind, this video will definitely piss some people off. I'm going to rank every Deep Purple lineup from worst to greatest, and I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to be honest. And to be honest, I'm going to be a little rude. Remember, this is my opinion. If you don't agree, share your opinion in the comments. And if you agree with me, well, you can rest well knowing you're absolutely right. So let's get started. Some quick ground rules. I'm splitting Mark II into two rankings, the 1970s era and the reunion era. Different chemistry, different impact. And also, I'm not counting Joe Satriani's brief tour stint. That was a fill-in, not a lineup. I don't know why it's sometimes referred to Mark VI. Mark VI is when Steve Morse first joined the band. So we've got 9 distinct lineups to rank. Let's go. Fire in the Basement. Burn me up, scream and shout. There's a fire in the basement. Only you can put it out. You see, those lyrics alone justify putting this lineup at number 9. That gem is from Fire in the Basement, off Slaves and Masters, the one album from Mark V. Joe Lynn Turner on vocals, 1989 to 1992. You know, the one that felt less like Deep Purple and more like Rainbow, the corporate edition. Joe Lynn Turner is a great singer, no question. Range, tone, polish. But Deep Purple isn't supposed to have that radio-friendly polish. The lineup I'm ranking 8th had one album, Come Taste the Band, and brother, it tastes like confusion. That's right, Mark IV, Tommy Bolin on guitar, 1975 to 1976. Bolin was a phenomenal guitarist, seriously talented. But this was like hiring a jazz fusion virtuoso to play in a heavy rock band that was already on fire, and not in the good way. The band was falling apart. Bolin came in battling addiction, and the album sounds like a funk rock jam session that accidentally got labeled Deep Purple. Live, even rougher. Some nights Bolin could barely even play. This lineup killed Deep Purple for 8 years. So, number 7. When the classic lineup got back together, fans lost their minds. And to be fair, Perfect Strangers had some absolute bangers. That album alone justified the reunion. After that, diminishing returns. The House of Blue Light was uneven, and the chemistry just wasn't there. The tension that broke them up in '73 was still there, just older and crankier, and they just didn't swing. Musically, to me it sounded like they were going for a modern sound, which meant they barely sounded like themselves. This was a victory lap that went on 2 albums too long. At number 6, Mark III. David Coverdale on vocals and Glenn Hughes on bass, 1973 to 1975. Burn and Stormbringer? Decent albums, no question. They had some brilliant moments. But this lineup took an iconoclastic band and added a pinch of the ordinary. Live, Glenn Hughes' yelping is just not for me. It takes me right out of the songs. I can't even listen to their live albums all the way through. And then, there's David Coverdale's stage presence. The posing, the crotch thrusts, kind of made Deep Purple look like a cock rock band instead of the prog-influenced heavy rock machine they'd been. Now that worked for Whitesnake later on, make no mistake, but that's not what I want from Purple. And the instability, the egos, the excess, that all led to the Mark IV disaster and the band's breakup. Number 5, Mark VIII, Simon McBride on guitar, 2022 to present. When Steve Morse stepped down and McBride stepped in, people wondered if this was the beginning of the end. Turns out it wasn't. McBride's been an excellent addition. He's brought youth, fire, and precision. The band is still tight, Aries on point, pace is still swinging, and Gillan is singing smart. Their 2024 album, Equals One, proved this lineup can build on the recent Purple patch. The live shows are honest, energetic, and proud. So why number 5? It's simple. They have only had one album. That's it so far. I'm not ranking potential. I'm ranking what they've actually done. If their 2026 album matches Equals One, that could move them up. I'm really looking forward to that album. But I've been burned by optimism before. Show me album 2. At number 4, Mark I. Rod Evans on vocals, Nick Simper on bass. 1968 to 1969. The original lineup, the foundation. Shades of Deep Purple, The Book of Taliesin, the self-titled third album. This was Deep Purple finding their sound. Proggy, psychedelic rock with classical influences and harder edges than some of their peers. Listen to The Book of Taliesin and you can hear it, the DNA of what's coming. The organ guitar interplay, the ambition, the willingness to experiment. But they weren't there yet. Evans was a solid singer, but he didn't have Gillan's power or range. So this lineup was interesting, but not iconic. Still, without Mark I, there is no Deep Purple. They laid the groundwork. They proved the concept. They gave Blackmore, Lord, and Pace the platform to become legends. Number 3. When Blackmore stormed off for good in '93, most people thought Deep Purple was finished. Instead, Steve Morse walked in, and the band found something they hadn't had in years: confidence to evolve. Perpendicular and Abandon, those albums started the long process of Deep Purple moving away from the straightforward arena rock of the reunion era. Experimentation crept back in, and proggy elements returned. The band stopped chasing a sound and started building something new. Morse brought precision without ego. He wasn't trying to be Blackmore. He was trying to serve the songs, and it worked. This lineup proved that Deep Purple didn't need to be a nostalgia act. They could grow, adapt, and still sound like themselves. Why not higher? The albums are strong, but this was still a transitional era. They were finding their footing, and the best was yet to come. And number 2, Mark VII. Steve Morse on guitar, Don Airey on keys. 2002 to 2022. 20 years, 5 studio albums, endless touring. This is the era of sustained excellence. When John Lord retired and Don Airey stepped in, you'd think it'd feel like a loss, and it did. It was John, but still, Airey's chemistry with Morse was perfect. They pushed each other, challenged each other, and elevated the whole band. Bananas, Rapture of the Deep, Now What, Infinite, and Whoosh. This lineup aged like fine wine, consistent quality across 2 decades. They weren't chasing radio hits or trying to relive 1972. They were writing good songs, playing them well, and actually enjoying it. Mark II burned bright for 4 years, and Mark VII burned steady for 20. This lineup saved Deep Purple. They proved the band could thrive in the 21st century, not just survive on nostalgia. They kept the legacy alive while moving it forward. It's 2 decades of dignity, creativity, and evolution. It's the era that saved Deep Purple. As I just mentioned, at number 1, Mark II. Ian Gillan on vocals, Richie Blackmore on guitar, John Lord on organ, Roger Glover on bass, and Ian Pace on drums. 1969 to 1973. I mean, come on, he knew this was coming. In Rock, Fireball, Machine Head, Who Do We Think We Are, Made in Japan. This is it. This is the lineup. Gillan in full flight, power, range, and emotion. Blackmore at his absolute peak. Aggressive, inventive, untouchable. John Lord redefining what heavy rock keys could be, and Glover and Pace locking in like a machine. 4 years, one concerto, 4 studio albums, 1 live album that became the blueprint for all other live albums. And every band that calls themselves heavy rock owes this lineup a royalty check. This is a lineup that defined Deep Purple and defined heavy rock. It also defined what 5 musicians can do when every single cylinder is firing at once. Everything else on this list gets measured against Mark II. They set the standard. So that's my ranking. Mark II at the top, where they belong. Think I'm wrong about Mark VII at number 2? Think Mark III deserves better? Let me know in the comments why I'm an idiot. And if you haven't seen my Fireball album reimagining video, check that out next. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Also, like and subscribe.